unconventional way. Yeah, I just got a bunch of swag too. You're going to do an video. Where am I going? Am I going here?
You can go wherever you want. Where do you want to go?
I'm a stander. If I sit down, I'll pace. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm waiting to be introduced.
Please give a warm Fan Fest welcome for Mr. Julian Richings.
I'm going to stand because I sort of am twitchy and I keep moving around. So I got some swag. I just got it. Look at it. And you see, I've just come from Canada. I came from Toronto, which is where we shoot. Well, we shoot in Vancouver, but we shoot in Canada. We call one of these. What do you guys call one of these?
Beanie.
Beanie? You don't call them a beanie. Does anyone know what we call them in Canada? A toque. Yeah, a toque. Because don't ask me why. I have no real. I think it's from French Canadian. The expression I think it's French for beanie, basically. Anyway, so hi.
Hi.
It's really good to see you all, and it's a real privilege for me to be here. I've never visited Phoenix before or the surrounding area, so I can't believe it. I couldn't believe getting off the plane and being warm. Oh, it's just good. And then also it getting dark at night, and like 6 o'clock, and it's still warm. In Canada, like 4:30, 5:30, if it's dark at night, it's down coats and toques and gloves and all sorts of things. Beanies. I'm gonna get used to your vocabulary. Anyway, so I don't really know what to say. I'll just do a quick sort of hello and an introduction, and then I'll let you guys ask me any questions, and I'll try my best to answer them. So, I'm an actor. And seriously, and that's what I am. I don't think of myself as a star or a celebrity. It's very nice to be treated like one, and I'm really honored to be that way. But a lot of that's because I'm in a show that I think is treated as a celebrity in itself, in Supernatural, and I think it has a huge fan base that treats the show and its actors with great respect. And I'm kind of a part of that, and I'm very proud to be a part of that. But actually, I don't think of myself really. I think of myself as a working actor. And if you look me up and what I've done a lot more than Supernatural, but lots of stuff, I'll be the guy that you suddenly go, oh my God, it's that guy. I appear, and then that was me, pop out, pop. But I'll appear and I'll be like the third bad guy on the right. And then I'll get some gruesomely murdered or something. But I think I've killed more people, especially with death now. I think I've killed more people on screen than have killed me. But anyway, that's just one of those things. I think that's what comes of having cheekbones and an English accent. Sort of like do that stuff. Anyway, so yeah, I'm a character actor. My story, in terms of, to just give you a little brief description, is you can tell from my accent, I obviously grew up in England, and went to school in England, went to theatre school in England, worked in England as a theatre actor, and then the company that I was with started to travel abroad. We started to travel around Europe, and we toured Chicago, New York, Toronto, and I met my wife in Toronto. And I've been married 30 odd years, and that's my base, that's my home base. But Toronto is a film center, and it's great for me because I'm able to do a lot of theater, and a lot of movies, and a lot of TV, and Toronto's the kind of place where, I can travel from it, right? So that's my home base, but I work all over. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. That's kind of who I am and the way I look at things. But if you've got any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Is there anybody? Silence.
You're going to kill us.
Yeah, I got one. Where was it? It was over here somewhere. Hey, hello. How you doing? Shout out loud.
What is your favorite movie that you played in?
Well, thank you so much. Great question. What's my favorite movie that I played in? It's kind of hard, and And I'm lucky because generally I can say to people, it was the last one that I was in. Because, you know, as an actor, you just are glad to get to work, right? And so if somebody asks me, what's your favorite movie? I'll generally say, but I've just been in this movie and it's about this and I'm all excited about it. And I think that's what's wonderful about being an actor. It's what I love doing, right? And so my favorite movie is always the last one that I've done. And I'll tell you a little bit about it because I'm very excited by it. It's a movie that was shot by a young man, I guess he's about 26, 27. And the lead character is a young man with Down syndrome. And it's a very brave movie. It's like this young man is the hero all the way through the movie. And he meets a lot of eccentric characters along the way. And I'm one of those eccentric characters. Surprise, surprise. But we get on together and then he carries on to the next leg of his journey. But, so that's my general answer to you. But I guess if I've got a secret favorite movie ever, there was one where I played a rock and roll guy. It was called Hardcore Logo. Yep. And do any of you guys know it? And it's because I'm a bit of an old punk. Yep. I'm a bit of an old punk rocker. And in that movie, I play an old punk rocker, kind of like Iggy Pop kind of guy. And that's kind of my music. And so my kids still go, Dad, will you just stop? Will you turn that off? Will you turn the Ramones down, please, Dad? You know, and that stuff. But that's my era. That's the music I like. And every generation has its own music, right? And bet you guys have yours too. That'll drive your children crazy in the future. So anyway, that's a long-winded answer, but there you go. Anything else? Anybody else want to ask me?
This one over here, right down here.
Yeah.
Hello, dear.
Hello.
Dang. I'm just wondering, with the mention of still filming in Vancouver, if we can expect to see Death either in this season or an upcoming season, and also if you're considering joining the panel at Supernatural Con here in Phoenix in June.
Okay. Well. Talking about Supernatural, my honest answer is about the writing of the show. I don't know. I'm sure the boys have an idea. Mark probably has an idea. The lead guys do. But I'm just part of the Supernatural universe. And I honestly don't know if my character will return. I hope he does. I really hope he does. So get writing! But the thing is, it's quite possible because, let's face it, it's this kind of show, it's the kind of universe where people reappear, surprisingly. Yeah. And I think that's why the show is so good, is because they'll pull the rug from under your feet and then they'll go back again. And it keeps you on the edge of your toes. Because I find that the Supernatural fan base is so knowledgeable and they know so much about the show and the culture of the show. They'll ask me questions and I go, I don't know. I feel really embarrassed, and so I think that it's good that the writers in many ways pull a fast one sometimes, and they do stuff like they'll kill Death, so that everybody goes, wait a minute, they can't do that. So that's my answer to that. And in terms of the con, I don't know. Part of the problem for me about doing cons is that, as I say, I'm a character actor, right? So it means that I'll do, in the space of a year, let's say 10, 12, 13 different movies or shows, because I do a little bit in a lot of different things, right? So my schedule's all over the place. Whereas if you're on a show, you're pretty consistent. You know where you are. Like if I'm Mark Shepard or somebody, he knows he'll be doing X amount of days on the show, because they've got a long-term commitment to it. But I tend to parachute in here, go there. Right now I'm doing a show called Orphan Black. You know that? And I'm going back to Toronto and shooting that. But I really don't know where I'm going to be. So I can't commit to coming back to Phoenix. And that's why an organization like, it's Creation that are doing that one, I think.
Right, yeah.
Right? And that's why with an organization like Creation that's so well organized, they tend to keep with people that they know. They don't want to disappoint fans and say someone's coming and then they cancel. So that's kind of the story there. Really.
Well, just so you know, it's June 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Okay.
Put it in your day book.
Well, I'll do my best because I love it here. Although, I don't know, what's the temperature going to be?
the
here.
whole time.
Well, it's not.
It'll be a perfect temperature for death.
Yeah, now July's your hottest month, though, right? August. Okay, so it's getting there. So death in a Hawaiian shirt and shorts. Yeah, I think so. With sandals, open-toed sandals, with a hat. Like I'll wear a big spooky hat. Yeah. Or I could have an umbrella. An umbrella, I think. Hi there. Do you have a question?
Oh, yes. You mentioned you were married 30 years?
Yeah.
My friend is married 23. What's the secret of a 30-year marriage?
A very patient partner. Well, I don't know if there is one. We both have a good sense of humor. And I think at the end of the day, that keeps you going, you know? Because we all hit, you know, ups and downs and difficult times and personal things. But if you can laugh about things and walk away, I think that stands you in good stead. So you know, and just love and perseverance, I think. So anyway, I got no secrets or magic, I'm afraid, but we get on very well. Anyway, we're good friends. Anyone? Yes, the lady in the middle. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
I'm very curious about the Orphan Black set, because obviously when you watch it on TV, it looks like a cast of hundreds, and it isn't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is the set very quiet, or are you guys all busy?
Yeah, okay, I just start by, I don't know, Orphan Black's a really cool show and it's got a very dedicated fan base, but it's not a big fan base like Supernatural, so I'll just start by just giving like an idiot's guide to Orphan Black, okay? Just because some people in the room might not know it. It's a very cool show. We're in season 4 now, right? But it's one of those small shows that's kind of just off the radar a little bit. Although this year, Tatiana Maslany, the lead actor, was nominated for an Emmy. And that's kind of quite, I think, really deservedly. But, you know, that's brought the profile up a bit. Now, the thing is that if you don't know the show, Tatiana plays 5, 6 characters or more. She plays clones of herself, right? And so what's amazing about the film set is that you're in a scene with an actor that's playing against herself, right? So she has a double. She has somebody that looks kind of like her. So for instance, if we're shooting a scene and I'm in the room and then I'm talking to Tatiana, but as one character, and then Tatiana's here. You can hear me, right? Yes. Yeah. And Tatiana's here as her other character. So sometimes they can shoot it so that we'll see Tatiana here head on. And sometimes if the girl that looks a bit like Tatiana can have her head turned, they can cheat, right? But most of the time they can't. They have to really use Tatiana. So we'll do the scene. I'll do the scene to Tatiana here. And then we'll have to reshoot, do everything the same, but Tatiana will go, and then she'll be this character, right? So it's a complicated process. So it means that everybody's really focused, and it's the only show I think I've ever been in where hair and makeup and wardrobe are so critical. So in a lot of shows that I do where, you know, you go in, especially a guy like me, who doesn't need a lot of hair and makeup. It's like, oh yeah, the cheekbones, you know, that's it. But I realized that everybody is creative in helping her distinguish these characters, right? And it's about the way that they do her hair, her eyebrows, the way they make her up. Really makes a big difference on camera when she's playing different characters who are basically her, right? So everybody is very focused and a part of the process and very engaged on set. So I think it's a more focused set than I'm used to, because everybody has to be able to go, oh no, the way your hair's parted is the wrong character. Like, we got to come and do that. You look too much like the other character. You know what I mean? So everybody's there all the time, rather than just going, oh, you got a hair out of place. They're all part of the creation of the show. So that's my impression. But I got to say, I'm really lucky in the same way that Jared and Jensen are such cool guys and such open and comfortable guys with each other and with the show. They make it easy for everybody. So does Tatiana. She actually is another actor who doesn't have a big ego or doesn't try to prove herself. Like, she's just who she is. So that makes it very easy to... so I'm very fortunate in being in 2 shows like that. Sometimes, we won't mention any names, but you know, you can be in it, as all of us, in any workplace, right? Where egos kind of get in the way sometimes. Okay, yeah.
When you're in a show where you're in different episodes, not all the way through, but in episodes, do you follow the plot line of that show yourself so that you know what's happening?
I do, because I think it's my job to do that and to know kind of where I am. But you know, there's a danger to that sometimes, where if you start predicting how your character is going to go, you start making decisions that aren't necessarily the best ones. And the example I give for that is Orphan Black. When characters start on Orphan Black, the writers themselves don't know if that character, especially in season 1 and 2, they don't know whether that character is going to be good or bad or evil. You know what I mean? Like, they just have a storyline. And sometimes it's good for an actor not to know whether they're being good. Because sometimes you see it yourself. When you watch TV, you go, they're being bad now. Why are they going like, you know, oh, that's a bad guy there. That's a good, do you know what I mean? Like, you resort to sort of cliche, and an actor tries to do the work for the audience. And a show like Orphan Black's really cool because you don't know. You don't know who's who belongs to who's betraying who. And they write it like that, so as an actor you don't know. So if I'm asking somebody to step outside with me, you go, oh my God, he's just asked her to step outside. Is he going to kill her or is he going to buy her something? You know? and that's kind of a cool way to approach a character. As long as you understand, you know, you've got enough to go by.
With
so
death,
anyway,
you didn't have that problem, did you?
with death, no, and I was blessed with right from the get-go. When I first arrived, I'd never seen a show, a supernatural show. I quickly looked at it, you know, and I thought, oh, okay, I kind of get the idea. But the writers gave me that gift of a scene in the pizza parlor. And that was such a great scene because the idea of having like the most powerful guy in the world loving junk food, to me was fantastic. And that, in a way, was the key to my character. Like, I didn't have to go, oh, does he think this about that, or does he have that opinion? I just went, no, here's a guy that doesn't have to prove himself, but he has human qualities, like he likes food, even though he's way too powerful to even try and fight with anybody. And Jensen was very helpful too, because we were on set together and we did that huge pizza scene, and we just acted it, you know. And so we as an actor, I think it's more my job to play what's written by the writers and to bring that to life. If I was a lead character like Jensen or Jared, they sort of have to say, hey, wouldn't it be a good idea if my character went in this direction or started to do that? And that keeps them alive. But for me, I'm there to serve the writers. That's the way I think of it. Or there to serve the show. Yeah.
I mean, you've done so much. Like you said, I've seen shows and I'm like, hey, that's Death. You know what I'm saying? Hello, Death. I saw you in a Western, and you've done so much theater.
Yes.
Which do you prefer? Do you prefer theater or actual TV?
I don't know that I prefer one or the other. They're both very different, and you get a different thing from both, right? For theater, what I love is like being here with you guys. When you say something, you get an immediate response. You know, you laugh if I say something, or you listen, and there's an interaction. I love that. I love the live feeling, and I think that's why rock musicians always want to go back on the road, right? They just don't want to just do albums. They want to have that interaction with their fans. So I love that about theater. But there is something about film and TV that I really like, and that's the technical aspects of it. Like, the idea that the way that the lighting guy does the scene affects my performance. So the lighting guy would say, Julian, if you just stand over there, there's a little bit of light in your eye and it's glinting on your eye and it'll look really good. I think that's amazing that you can work like that. Like, I like the technical side of it. And, you know, the same with wardrobe, whereas as an actor, it's you. It's you up there, you doing it, you're in control, so I like that. And then the other side of it is that I just like being in a team when I do film and television. So I'm lucky that I do a bit of both. And when I do one, I go, all right, yeah, I like that. And then when I do the other one, I like that. So it's kind of not a very good answer, but there you go. Yes, gentleman in the red shirt.
What's the hardest part about being an actor? What's the best part about being an actor?
The hardest part is insecurity. You never know when your next job's coming. You know, honestly, like here I am. I'm an established, mature actor. I've been doing it for 40 years. I don't honestly know when my next job's coming. I mean, I'm reasonably confident that I'll get stuff. And I'm lucky, and again, I've got a long-term relationship with my wife, and we kind of understand she has a regular income, and we make it work, right? So, but it's not easy. But then it's not easy for anybody that's self-employed. Everybody that's self-employed has the same issues. Feast or famine, right? You know, you get 3 jobs altogether, and you have to say no to 2 jobs, and you know what I mean? And it's a long... So I find that very difficult. There's part of me that would love to be regular job, like a regular on a show, or just a regular in a theater company or something. But at the same time, I like dropping around and doing lots of different things. So that's the hardest side of it. The best side is, well, I love what I do. I love performing, and I think honestly, performing for me is it allows me to do stuff and say stuff that I wouldn't normally. I'm actually a shy person. I'm introverted. I'm the middle of 3 brothers. I always think my brothers are the personalities, and I'm the one that kind of, I'm a bit of this and a bit of that, and so when I get given a script to go and be evil or funny or something, I enjoy that. I enjoy the privilege of giving me a voice for a minute. Do you know what I mean? And then I feel that I try and make that my personal voice within what I'm supposed to do. So with Death, even though I'm playing somebody that's supposed to be sinister, I like to bring humor to the character, because I figure, you know what, I think he should. I think he should have some warmth to him, and so I feel like I try to bring that to the character, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah. Have you thought about directing or anything else?
Yeah, you know, I direct in theater, which I understand more, but it goes back to that other thing I said about the technical side of film and television. I'm not really a technical person. You ask my daughter when it comes to tweeting and stuff like that, like, you know, Dad, really, do you have to do that? Like, I keep saying things are going wrong, you know. I'm technophobic a bit. And I think to be a really good director, of course you have to have instincts and vision, but you do have to have a certain technical competence. And I don't know that I have that with lenses and cameras and lights and the way that you create a film, the technical side of it. I understand the acting and stuff and the pictures, but that's why I don't go into it more. Yeah, lady over there.
I read somewhere that you worked with Wachowski in Poland.
Yes, I did.
Could you comment on that experience?
Yeah. So for those of you folks that don't know, and so I grew up, I went to theatre school in England in the 70s. And our great, you know, every generation has its heroes, right? Whether it's actors or directors. Well, our great thing in England was a Polish director, he was behind the Iron Curtain at the time, right? And his name was Jerzy Grotowski. And he wrote a book called Towards a Poor Theatre. And in that book, there were photographs of the actors doing these extraordinary things. Like they were like athletes. They were trained like athletes. They would jump from high ledges, they would do cartwheels, they would single-handedly express entire emotions. They were almost like dancers, shock troops and actors all rolled into one. They were extraordinary. So a lot of British companies studied this guy. He was considered to be the great visionary of my generation. And I was lucky enough to join a theatre company that actually was invited, that we did shows in his style, and we went to Toronto to show our stuff. And Grotowski was there in a university in Toronto. He invited theaters from all over the world to demonstrate what his stuff was about. And then he invited us to Poland to do a performance, to do a series of performances in his laboratorium in Wrocław, Poland, which was a big deal because this was in 1979, 1980, when there was a lot of unrest in Poland, and as I say, it was before the Iron Curtain disappeared, so it was a big deal. But it was a very formative part of my life, and as a result, you'll notice that although my style is, I think of myself as a physical actor. So I feel that I don't act from here upwards, you know, sort of, oh darling, you know, sort of, this is my character, I'm going to do my character. You know, like some people do. I try to embody, like I try to keep myself fit, and I look at myself portraying characters as a whole physicality. The best example I can think of is Buster Keaton. He's one of my heroes. I think he's one of the great actors, but he's like, well, he comes from vaudeville. He's a physical actor. Broke every bone in his body, and manages to transmit emotion without even moving his face. He does it with his whole body, and I think that's an amazing thing. Yeah.
Before Capaldi's name was released as being the 12th Doctor, there was a fan feed where fans threw out names of people, and your name was suggested, and it got a lot of positive comments.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I did, and I was very flattered. I sort of wanted to add my name to the list. Secretly. You know. Yes, I think he should. It was very flattering, and I can see why, and I can see that actually I have a lot of similar traits to the current Doctor, you know, in the same looks and same kind of quirkiness. I mean, it would have been an amazing thing. Not that I ever expected it to happen, but as a kid I grew up watching it. I remember the very first episode of Doctor Who, sitting at my grandmother's on a Saturday afternoon, watching it on the in black and white television, being terrified, and thinking of watching William Hartnell. And so it's funny. Yeah, it's gone full circle. But just to be thought of in those terms, yeah, it's very flattering. So, but no more than that. Gentleman in the hat.
What are the chances we'll ever see a miniseries or perhaps a movie focused on Otto from Kingdom Hospital?
Oh, right. So he's talking about Stephen King's Kingdom Hospital, which I had great fun doing. I guess we shot it, it's about 2003, about 10 years old, a bit more, 12 years old, something like that. So it's a miniseries written by Stephen King, and I play Otto, the half-blind security guard with these glasses, huge glasses that magnified my eyes so that you could see my eyes. They're like this big. It was a really fun shoot. The problem with it was, we shot it like an HBO series, right? It was kind of shot, and it's complicated, like a Stephen King novel, like lots of threads, about 5 different stories that intersected in a haunted hospital. And it was kind of, the unfortunate thing, it was on ABC, and so commercials would keep coming in. And I think that people found it a bit confusing. You know, they just get involved in one part of the story, bang, commercial. And then it would have to pick up again, and I think it lost its rhythm a bit, and so it got cancelled after 1 season. But I think it would be very funny to bring him back as a specific character, because he was a lot of fun to play. I had these glasses, and I was literally blind. When I put them on, they had these thick lenses, and so the props guy came up with this great idea. He said, okay, so you've got these glasses here like this that magnify everything. I'm going to give you corrective contact lenses at the same time. So as it is, I hate putting contact lenses in. Anyway, but they got them in, so I had these contact lenses. Then I had these other glasses on top. And I turned around and said, oh my God, I'm going to vomit. Because it was going like this all the time. I couldn't figure it out at all. So they said, okay, well, we'll take them off. So we took those off. And then we ended up giving me one pair of glasses for rehearsals, so that camera could always get them. And then we just said, okay, we'll put the other ones on for the actual shot. And I'm playing a guy that's half blind anyway, so the fact that I couldn't see, he's a good actor. Walking around. Yeah, so that was fun. And you know, interesting, one final thing. Stephen King executive produced that, and he appeared in it too. And I think, again, a lot of people, it's interesting with Stephen King. His material, as we all know, is amazing. And his books have been turned into the most fantastic movies. But I don't know, with television, often there's so much going on that it hasn't been quite so successful in the transition from television show. Like, it seems like if you can get one idea and turn it into a film, they really work. But some of the more expansive things are kind of difficult to translate. Anyway, that's me. That's my idea. Anyone else? Any other questions? Lady there? Yeah?
I'm going to have to agree with you. When you play Death, I just see you acting with your eyes and motion through there.
Oh.
I completely see you as that horseman. And
Right.
I'm just wondering, a couple of offshoots on your answers to a couple other questions.
Yeah.
Do you see him as a true neutral?
Good. That's a good question. No, I see him as a cycle of nature, right? And you know, a lot of people say, "Oh my God, you're playing Death. How depressing!" And I go, "Well, no, it's death. You know, death is a cycle, and for death, it means rebirth and life. And again, that's why I was really keen to play the humor, because I figure if he's got a twinkle in his eye, it's not just somebody that's mean, because death isn't a mean force. It's a force of nature, and it's necessary, and it is part of what makes life so amazing and fantastic.
You see the humor when you're amazing entrance, and then you flick the leaf off your shoulder.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I know how powerful I am.
Well, but then again, I got to give credit to the two boys too, because they play it in such a way that they treat me sort of like an old uncle or something. Do you know what I mean? Like they treat it like it's Uncle Death's come here now, like, and they're kind of cheeky to me in that way, rather than like. So I like that. I like the way that we've built up the relationship, and I think for viewers, I think it's relationships that count, and I think that's why people watch again and again. Right?
With that, are you surprised that Dean turned around and used your scythe against you?
I am, but it was to help his brother. So I kind of get it. I'm pissed off though. And you can tell him that. No, but we'll see. But it made sense, and I think it was more than just a quick fix for the end of a season. I think it was a great idea, and we'll see where it goes from here. Sir? Yeah?
In Todd and the Book of Pure Evil, it's a bunch...
Oh my, well, you're coming up with a bunch of stuff that I've done. I didn't think people saw yet. Todd and the Book of Pure Evil, this is a series.
It's a broader show, and is it fun as an actor to have that license to sort of just ham it up as much as you want?
You said it right there, to ham it up. Todd and the Book of Pure Evil, like the name suggests, it's kind of like a comic book. And what's great about it, it's got these whole horror sequences, but they're old school horror sequences, like pre-CGI, so that they're like really bad, like 50s, and they relish how bad and jerky they are. But they are sort of spooky too, and it's kind of campy. And I play this, a hooded leader, and all you'd see is my mouth. And I speak like this, and I'm really angry all the time, and I get wheeled around in a wheelchair, so like a really bad James Bond villain or something. And it's a lot of fun, because everybody's kind of having fun on the show. It's, like you say, it's licensed to. And I think that's critical for an actor like me, is to understand what the tone of the show is. Right, and my skill is as much as, like, it's not even about finding a character, it's finding what the tone of the show is and making it work in there. Sometimes you have to go against the tone of the show introduce like a new element, or sometimes you just go along with it, you know. And I think of myself, and what I do in stuff is I'm like a primary color in a painting. Like I'm not the whole story, but I go in as a color, and I go, oh, there's a bit of color there, and it makes everything else look slightly different, or offsets it in a particular way. Sir?
What did you think about the character you played in Heartland?
In Heartland? Oh, well, I have a funny story about that. I think it was an interesting character, and I was actually hoping that it might develop. I thought, well, you know, and again, it's exactly the kind of thing that a character like myself, an actor like myself, encounters. You know, somebody writes something, and then, so I play, Heartland is a really beautiful, most of you guys know it, Heartland? Yeah, it's a beautiful show, shot in Alberta, and horses is the main focus of it, of the show. I play a rancher, a nearby rancher, whose horses are mistreated and are starving. And what we begin to realize is that it's not because I'm cruel, it's because I'm experiencing hard times myself. And so we start to understand my character. And then a second episode was written with my character where they introduced my sister. And I thought, ooh, this is good. They're beginning to write more characters around me. Okay, so I thought, so maybe this character's going to progress and it will get more interesting. And, you know, when you first play a character in an opening episode, it tends to be a little bit of a thumbnail sketch. You don't tend to have a lot of opportunity to really dig deep. So the more you go on, the more you can do. So I thought, well, this is good. And then I didn't hear anything, and I think we went to another season, and then I was there, and I was at home with my wife, and I said, oh, Heartland's on. I turned that on. I haven't seen it for a while. So I turned it on, and at that very second that I turned it on, there was an ambulance. And then it goes to Amber, who is the heroine of the whole show, and she says, it's too bad what happened to Mr. Hanley. That's me in the ambulance. I've died and I didn't get to act in the show. Okay, so that was a strange kind of ending to it, I thought. And I thought, oh, here, I'm going to have a new show and I'm going to be in so it can't happen. It's a cruel world. Nobody ever told me. Some writer somewhere decided, no, we'd get rid of him. And actually what happened with my character is that one of the main characters bought my ranch, and it becomes part of the whole show, like the Hanley Ranch. So Hanley's not there anymore. He's dead. So are a lot of characters in my play. Any other questions? Anything else? Yes?
I'm curious about, there's so many shows that are now filmed in Canada,
Yep.
particularly around Toronto. Is that like a mini Hollywood there? I mean, it must be robust for an actor to live in that market.
It is. There's a number of reasons for it. One of them is like there's a big stable of actors there because of the theatre tradition. There's a lot of native actors too that work up there. So for a lot of Western shows, I was talking to my friends over there, the Navajo folks. I've worked with a lot of Ojibwe and a lot of like on a lot of period pieces. I keep popping, sorry folks. So there's a big body of talent there, but it's also locations, and it means, and so, like it's very different than LA. So for instance, we got the North, and it's financial too. I mean, it comes down to if the dollar's cheaper there or there's a tax incentive. I don't understand it, but there are there are reasons why people shoot in different places, and it's kind of above my head. But that's financial is one of them too, and also co-productions, like co-productions between an American producer and a Canadian producer. Let's say 60% of the show will get shot in Toronto, the interiors, and then like Good Will Hunting, for instance, the movie Good Will Hunting, all the interiors were Toronto and the exteriors were Boston, right? Go figure. But I think it means that funding can come from different sources, right? So that's the sort of stuff that happens. Yes?
Is there a type of character you haven't played yet that you'd like to play?
Well, I'm lucky because I work in theatre, right? And in theatre, it does give you license to play a lot of very different kinds of characters that go a little bit against stereotype. And I think when you do TV and film, and this goes back to the question that was asked about, you know, which do I prefer? I think theatre is good in that you're not supposed, well, you tend not to play the stereotypes so much. Film and TV, it's a shorthand, you know. If you've got a tall, skinny guy with cheekbones, there's a shorthand, you go, okay, he's going to be trouble. Do you know what I mean? And I don't mind that. We do that. We like, you know, I have a lot of friends who are big, beefy guys and they play cops. And they just wish that they didn't play cops all the time. I'll never play a cop. I'm a wannabe cop. Maybe that will be it one day. I'll be a big sort of a detective or something, chasing people. I say, you, stop! You know, and I get it. I get that. But Sherlock, yeah, I guess so. I just enjoy. I don't have. There's not like one secret character that I think, oh, I've always wanted to play that character. A lot of actors do feel that way, but I don't. But it is nice when I play against type. When I do play somebody that you wouldn't quite expect, like a nice guy. Words that my mum will like. That's about it. Any others, folks? Sir, yeah?
Now, with the success of your part in Supernatural, have you seen more parts being offered to you, or are you just being typecast as Death?
A little bit. People will go, oh, is that guy that played Death? Yeah, we could get him to, but you know, it goes back to this other question. An actor's life's a funny thing. I won't get offered that job, but maybe I'd be considered for a job. Do you know what? So there's still the whole thing that I have to go through. I have to audition for it, or it's certainly given me a lot more exposure, and people have seen me as this kind of a character more, because you know, Supernatural reaches a lot of people, and I have absolutely no regrets on that. But I don't think there's a danger for me of being too typecast, because I do too many different things still. And it's funny, I don't know why, but people find it hard to make a character like me the main character in a series. I'll always be the guy that might come in for a day or two, you know, and might be there like the friend of the hero or something, or the bad guy, but not there all the time, and that's fine. Sir?
How many auditions do you do typically in a year?
Oh, I still audition a lot, and it gets no easier.
Seriously.
How many? Well, it comes and goes. I'd say once a week. Does that surprise you? Like, were you thinking more or less?
Oh, I was thinking one less.
No, like, because I still audition for a lot and don't get them. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's funny, when I talk to people, people always assume that, you know, one of my favorite ones is when people say, if I'm on the TV interview, someone will say, well, what made you play this character? Why did you decide? Because I was offered? Because I got a job? Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I think it's like all of us, really. We don't kind of go around and go, yeah, I think I'll take that job at that organization. Like, you get a job and you go, oh, great. And as an actor, there's a lot of competition out there. And yeah, I audition a fair amount. Now the audition process has changed a bit in that you tend to self-tape more now. So, for instance, rather than go to a room in a building where the casting director and the director are sitting there, and I introduce myself to them and I go through the scene, what happens now is that I'm asked to self-tape. So I'll go into like a little recording studio, I'll lay down an interview, and it will be emailed to LA, to Fox or to Warner Brothers or the casting that's there. And they'll look at submissions from all over. So it's changed slightly. There's still like a TV series like Hannibal that I did, where I played a guest star. They still want people to come in because the producers want to see you in terms of the look of the show and see whether you fit or not. And for me, I'd much rather be in a room with people because I feel then they can ask me a question. You know, if you record yourself and you send it, you have one go, and if you've misread it and you've done it too big or too campy or whatever, you know, that's it. They can't say, oh, no, just calm it down or whatever. Yes, sir?
Yeah, over the next year, I'm going to be designing a course on leaders in film, watching films, and talking about leadership and leaders in film. Are there any roles that you've had that you might recommend I take a look at, you know, scenes even, where you were either a really positive leader, really bad leader, or just totally unrealistic portrayal of a leader, the kind of thing that we watch a film and we should not learn from?
Well, that's interesting. Well, you know, we're all, many of you folks here are fans of Supernatural. And I think that's an interesting idea because what is he? Is he a leader? I mean, he's the ultimate authority, but he's also caught up in human frailty too. And I find that a really interesting thing, and the fact that he values human contact and the idea of human family. Because I feel that Dean, particularly Dean, you know, is sort of like his nephew or something. So I find that interesting. From a leadership point of view. What other leaders? It's funny because I do tend to play leaders. So I did Man of Steel, and I kind of go away. I'm sort of that leader, the head of the Krypton Council, kind of like, go, banish. And then I did a movie called The Witch, which won Sundance last year, I think, which is a horror movie, and I had a tiny role in it. And believe it or not, it's exactly the same, but I'm in Puritan clothes, and our heroes are there standing in front of me, and I go, go away, go. And as I was doing it, I was thinking, this is exactly the same scene that I shot in the except I'm in completely different clothes, and I've got sort of more of an old English accent in it. But, so as I get older, my hair goes grayer. I think you're going to see me in lots more leader, banishment roles. Go! And then I'm going to be like walking around. Go! So as I get older and frailer, I'm going to be doing more banishing, I think. Yes? Oh, okay, yeah.
Do you have any stories about working on Lost Girl?
Oh, Lost Girl. Well, I
know you only did one episode.
Yeah, and you know what? That was a funny situation because I think that I filled in for a friend of mine. I'm not sure. This is the way series work, right? Like you'll get a guest director and comes in and so you say you've got 6 days to shoot a show and a series, and the director comes in for 6 days. And he's on to another show. He's going to go do an episode of some other show that's shooting in town. And there's a bunch of pickup shots to do. And I think what had happened was that they were late in the season, and they got to a day where there was about 4 days of pickup shots from about 3 different episodes. And my friend John Fawcett, who is a director, and who actually is the showrunner for Orphan Black, said, "We'll get Julian in for that. Julian, would you come in?" And I had no idea what I was doing, and I came in. I wasn't even directed by the director of that episode. I was directed by somebody filling in for me. So Lost Girl, which again has a huge following, I sort of had a funny little, it was one scene, and to be honest with you, it was so hurried, I can hardly remember it. But it's in the bar, and I'm talking, and I'm giving a bit of exposition, and that was it. And then I thought, oh, okay. And anyway, then what happened was that my friend said, "Thanks so much for coming in." And then he said, "Would you come in and do something on Orphan Black as well?" And I came in and did this, I fill in for a character who's really just a minder, like he drives around, he looks after the character of Mrs. S. And he said, no, I think we're going to just develop your character. So he has, and my character's still going, and I'm actually going back to shoot Orphan Black next week. So yeah. But I can't tell you much about Lost Girl. I know a lot of the folks in Lost Girl. They're friends of mine personally. Rick Howland is a friend of mine, and Zoe Palmer. But I don't really know much about the show, to be, you know, I can't talk for it because I had, like, I think I was in there for 3 hours doing that scene. Yeah, anyone else that hasn't asked a question yet? Yes?
First of all, you are very interesting. I really had no idea what I was going to get into.
Well, thank you. You know, but it's funny you should say that because when I do theatre, I'll often get a critic go, Julian Richings was very interesting. What does that mean? Interesting. Sexy is what I mean. I'm just kidding.
I was wondering if you had any interesting or weird audition stories. My friends are always telling me their audition stories, and some are kind of weird or kind of horror stories. Have you had any?
Well, I find auditions really hard. I honestly do. Like, everyone's stressed. Well, I will tell you one. I did a movie called Wrong Turn. Any of you guys have seen Wrong Turn? Yeah, like it's a real horror movie. Stan Winston, who is the special effects guru. I was 4 hours getting made up for it with this mask, and I had like a hunchback, and I had contact lenses and kind of built-up face. It was really grotesque, and then 2 hours to take it all off again, so it was really grueling. Anyway, he was trying to figure out how to get there are 3 brothers in this. And my brother's 7'3", 6'9", and then there's the runt of the family, me. Anyway, so in the audition, there was hardly any script at all because I don't think I say anything in the whole film. And Stan Winston sat at the back of the auditorium, sorry, the room, and he would say things like, okay, so normally you have a reader, you know, you have a reader gives you your lines, the opposite lines that you're playing. And he said, I'm just going to get the reader to come and sit in front of the camera. I said, okay, attack the reader. And I'd sort of go, boom. No, like really scare him, like really. And so it was like, well, it was a very strange thing. And now you can only use one word. So he was talking me through it, but I got the part, so I guess I did all right. It was one of the weirdest auditions I've done. To sort of abuse this poor reader, the poor reader's going, really didn't know what was going on. So that was strange, but I don't like auditions. And you know what? I honestly, I think going back to the question of do I direct, I think if I was directing, a lot of the time I would learn more about people from talking to them than getting them in a room and, you know, like 15 people and go, next, because I think you learn more in the back and forth with people. And some of the best films that I've been in and the best experiences that I've had with directors, I've talked to them and interviewed rather than gone in traditional audition situation. Yes, I'll go there and then there. Yeah.
Well, we're trolling you on IMDb because that's cute.
Yeah.
Just saw you're in my favorite horror movie of all time, Q.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any? What was that movie like?
Well, it was very great. This is Q, and it was by Vincenzo Natali. It was groundbreaking at the time. Right now, if you look at it, it doesn't look much, but there's an opening sequence that I'm in, and I was asked if I would do the opening sequence, and I said, sure. And the reason I did it was that it was groundbreaking special effects. They had to set up the idea that we were in a futuristic society that was dangerous, and if you walked in the wrong direction, you could get cubed. Literally, there was strands of wire that were squares, and if you walked through them, it would slice you. And that was the big danger. And so they had to establish it right at the beginning of the movie, and then it gave you a sort of a sense of terror for the rest of the movie. So I worked on that opening sequence, I guess for about a week, and it was pre-CGI, right? I mean, it was like we had to do a body cast, and I had to walk into position, and then we had to stop, and then we had to put a cast of myself, and it was very, very complicated, but I really enjoyed doing it. And this comes back to that thing of being a technical actor. I actually like working with artisans, like craftspeople that come from different departments. I find it really interesting. People that are really geeky about it. Like when I was on Wrong Turn, I was 4 hours in the makeup chair, And rather than actor conversations are always like, did you see that performance? Yeah, it made me cry. You know, and with special effects guys, did you see the way his fingernail exploded? and they had a little bit, and they're going into this detail about all these, and I'm going, wow. An actor would never talk like that, but it's fascinating for me to hear people talk enthusiastically about their own minutiae, you know. So anyway, so Cube was one of those where I really liked the technical side of it. And there was someone over there, yeah.
You did the voice of Darwin in the Assassin's Creed video
I
game.
did, yeah.
I was kind of wondering, how did you like doing the voice acting work, and how did you actually get that?
It was, again, new. I auditioned for it, and this is Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed, right? I'm in the latest one, and I play Charles Darwin. You'd never know it, because I've got a beard and a hat. And it was a different experience, and again, this is where I like keeping up with technology. So for me, working with game people, very different. Everybody's under 30. Everybody, I couldn't believe it. It's not like a traditional film setup. So all the creators are animators, and it's just one lighting state all the time. And I did motion capture, so I wear a lycra suit with little X's for references, so that then the animators can put things on top of me, and then dots on my face so that they can sort of refer to my face and then put stuff on top. So it's really different, but I thought it was pretty cool. The only problem was I had a bunch of dialogue, and I'm used to, if I get a load of dialogue as an actor in film, I kind of go, okay, well, we rehearsed that scene, now the lighting guys have to set up, so I've got 2 hours while they set up, and I'll go away, and I'll learn my lines, and I'll come back, and I'll be fine. Well, I was given my lines one day before I went to actually shoot for the Darwin role, and it's a continual lighting state, because they don't move it, right? And you wear a hat, like a bicycle helmet, with a camera facing your face. So you're being filmed all the time, so I had no time whatsoever. I'd do one scene, and then go, okay, we go on to the next one. Really? And I had to learn my lines, you know. And then, if you're old and sad like me, you need glasses, right? And so I didn't know, and I couldn't put my glasses on to look at my scripts because I had this helmet on that was strapped to my face. So I would hold my glasses. I found it difficult on that level, but apart from that, it was a lot of fun. I think I'm afraid we're out of time, folks, but thanks so much for coming. I love that. It's a real privilege for me to be here and to meet you. It's important. For me, this is a really important part of being an actor and meeting folks that see your work. And thanks for such a warm welcome.
Thank you.